If you are feeling like you don't have the time or energy to pursue things that interest you or to, let's say your career, to take your career to the next level, like you don't have the time or energy to investigate that degree or look at the job postings or go to that networking event, well, then I would encourage you to look at your self care. Are you feeling emotionally, physically fulfilled, full? If not, then this is where I would start having a system. On today's Harness the Power of Planning podcast, I'm going to talk about systems and how they apply to your daily life on episode 104 of the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, starting now. So, when I started thinking about what I wanted my morning ritual to look like, I already made my bed. But the next thing I added on to it was drinking warm lemon water, because I read somewhere, like, first of all, obviously you need to be hydrated, but I had read somewhere that lemon water is really good for your gut and just for getting things going. And so I started doing warm lemon water. And then as time has gone on, my morning hydration system has grown. So when I wake up in the morning, as soon as I go to the kitchen, I put on the kettle for my warm lemon water. While that water is boiling, I then prepare 3 drinks, not just one. So I make the warm lemon water, but then I also brew some tea, which has green tea in it. It also has a bunch of good herbs like turmeric for inflammation support, and it also has hibiscus, which is a really great source of polyphenols. Okay, so I also make this tea, and then I also make water with 2.5 tablespoons of chia seeds, because I've really been working on prioritizing fiber in my diet, and I'm trying to get 30 grams of fiber a day. And the chia seeds give me 10 grams, which is such a great fast way to get chia seeds. So this is part of my morning self-care ritual, my morning system for hydration is I make the lemon water, I make this tea, and I make the chia water. And I usually don't get around to drinking this until much later in the day. It's always cold by the time I drink it. But because I have a system for making the 3 drinks at once, it ensures that I do it. I have found that if I just make the lemon water first thing in the morning, and then I wait and I think about making the tea later, and then I wait and I think about making the chia water later, I'm much less likely to actually make and drink all 3. And I want all 3 for the polyphenols, for the hydration, and for the fiber. And so my system is I make all 3 at once, and it always gets done when I do it that way. I always end up drinking it, and I feel so much better. And that's the thing with systems, is that if you're getting results you like, you don't even have to think about doing it, because your body wants to do it. Like, your brain is like, "Oh, I like how this thing makes me feel. I'm gonna establish this as a habit." And so now I don't even really notice that I'm doing these things. Like, sometimes I'll actually go into the kitchen meaning to do something else, like grabbing the ladder that lives in the kitchen, and all of a sudden I'm making lemon water and chia water, and I don't even notice, because my brain is so used to, "Oh, first thing in the kitchen? Okay, I'm gonna make all my drinks," and that's my little system. So, self-care is a great place to have a system, because look, if you are not feeling taken care of, if you're not feeling mentally and emotionally and physically well, then it's really hard to show up in the other parts of your life. It's really hard to show up professionally. It's really hard to show up as a friend or family member or a partner. It's really hard to show up creatively. Like, I'm only able to, have my business, be a mom and partner, and do my stand-up comedy, because I have my self-care on autopilot. Like, I know that I have all these systems that ensure that I'm hydrated and that I'm fortified with food and with, supplements and polyphenols and all that stuff. That's what gives me the energy and the bandwidth to do all the things that I like to do, frankly. So, if you are feeling like you don't have the time or energy to pursue things that interest you, or to, let's say your career, to take your career to the next level, like you don't have the time or energy to investigate that degree or look at the job postings or go to that networking event, well, then I would encourage you to look at your self care. Are you feeling emotionally, physically fulfilled, full? If not, then this is where I would start having a system, because it's like when you're in the airplane and the flight attendant says, in case of emergency, put on your oxygen mask first. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to be passed out in the aisle, unable to help anybody. In fact, you're going to be an obstacle to everyone else. So, put on your oxygen mask first by using what I explained about systems, and come up with a self-care system for yourself. And if you don't know where to start with that, well, then I would say start with a morning ritual, because a morning ritual sets the tone for your entire day. If you have a good morning, you're much more likely to have a good day. If you, quote unquote, wake up on the wrong side of the bed, well, we all know how that turns out. That's why that phrase exists. And there's a QR code below. There's a QR code below. If you scan that code, you will be directed to where you can get a copy of my book, Rock Your Morning: 3 Simple Steps to Take Control of Your Morning. It talks a little bit more about creating a morning ritual, and you can get it as a book, a paperback, or as an ebook. Makes a great gift. And take your morning ritual, or lack thereof, to a new level. I can tell you that I'm not exaggerating when I say that my morning ritual is what keeps me sane and healthy. I really used to feel like my day was just barreling at me. I'd have all these things and I'd feel like I didn't know how I was going to be able to do any of them. And the reason why was because I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't have my oxygen mask on. That's why I felt overwhelmed by everything else that was coming my way. But now that I have my oxygen mask firmly on, I'm able to do everything I want to do, which is pretty crazy sometimes because I got a lot going on. Like, for instance, I will be in New York in a couple of weeks because I sing in a choir that is going to be singing at Carnegie Hall. Okay? How do I have the energy to do that? Because I do my self-care, right? I produced my first stand-up comedy show in March, and I'm setting a date for my second one. I have 2 locations. I just have to pick the location and the best date, whatever. But again, I only have the energy to do these things because I have my systems in place to ensure that everything that I need to get done is getting done when I want it to get done by using these systems, including this podcast right now. This podcast has a whole bunch of systems attached to it. And actually, if you're watching the live version right now, I don't usually go live at this time, but I had a breakdown in one of my systems and my audio was off when I recorded this the first time around at 9:30. So usually the live broadcast goes out at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, wherever you want to find it. But if you ever want to watch this again, you can always find it as the Harness the Power of Planning podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. If you are ready to take your planning to the next step, consider doing my on-demand course, also called Harness the Power of Planning. You can find that at tinyurl.com/HPOP on demand. That's tinyurl.com/HPOP on demand. And be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen. And remember, planning makes everything easier. Thanks for listening to the Harness the Power of Planning podcast. Be sure to follow and rate and subscribe wherever you listen.